All right, guys, first show here. Bear with me. Bear with me. Hang on, I promise good things. I've even got my notes. How terrible. Leigh does this so much better. It just took me like an hour to do what she sets up and starts filming in like 5 minutes. Let me tell you a little bit about where I am today and what I'll be talking to you about for just a short amount of time. If you find me looking over to my right, it's because that's where the screen is, and I'm just not used to this. But anyway, I'm in northern Arizona today. Specifically, I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. I've got a window right here, and it's a beautiful, rainy day out. In fact, if the rain lets up just a little bit, I'm going to take the X100F out and just show you around the woods, the rainy woods a little bit here, because it's wonderful. It smells good. It feels good, and I want to go out into it, and I have this big yellow raincoat with me here. And if it rains a lot, I'm actually I'm not going to take that X100F out because it's not weather sealed and there is it's very, very damp out. But I'll take my phone out because my phone, I think, is the weather sealed camera that I have here. I've got the SL2 that I'm shooting on here. I don't want to get that all wet. Leigh's down in Phoenix right now doing some business, and she has the water sealed DSLRs and the Nikons, and she's got that new Z7 down there with her as well, also water sealed. Just the other day, we were at the Grand Canyon, and the reason is that's the first place that she likes to take new cameras. It's the Grand Canyon test. She took the Leica SL there, which was a wonderful camera to work with. See, I'm checking on the technicals already here. Everything's looking good. So she took the SL to the Grand Canyon, and now with the Z7. I think it came on a Friday and Saturday morning we were at the Grand Canyon. She'll tell you more. We had the Amazon order. She canceled that with the 10 to 15 minute incorrect video recording time, reinitiated it, and then out on the forums, the DP review forums, I saw that people were getting the Z7 from Best Buy. They were ordering it Thursday and getting it Friday. I had to pay 1 day shipping, $33, and then all that Amazon drama with the order, no order. It went even a couple more gyrations, I think, than was in the video. And then one showed up from Best Buy the next day, and no Amazon order was ever used to get a Z7 in her hands, which was kind of funny, kind of ironic. I was running around the Grand Canyon with the X100F, which I love. Oh, it's not even up here right now. Well, I'll try to bring it outside. But the thing about the X100F is, and it was a real contrast to what she was doing. Now, she's the artist. She's a very good photographer, as you know. And this was one of the few times that I saw Leigh working in the camera instead of in the moment, because she's learning the camera. Now, one thing about both of us is we will sit down and use attrition to get through learning a camera. Literally just going through every menu option one after the other, just to, in a half hour, just jam session to get all that information. And she was doing that while she was in the field. So many times I saw her in the menus or working with the buttons and stuff. And I think she was a little bit jealous of me because I had the X100F and I know the camera really well. Honestly, if you set it up the way that I did, and we have a video coming on that, there's really not a whole lot to know. I'm just shooting aperture priority with it, using the aperture ring, letting the camera determine the shutter speed. And why I'm thinking here is I think I was working at a fixed ISO, but I might have been an auto ISO as well. So I was in the moment with the Grand Canyon, and she was in the camera. And it was a really good metaphor for what the X100F really brings. I'm mentioning it for no other reason as we both love the camera. No deal with Fuji, no money changing hands with Fuji. The only money that changed hands with Fuji was us buying the camera for the channel. And it's been a really, really good investment as far as I'm concerned. I think Leigh would agree. She might say the same thing. It's been really good for my photography. So while I'm talking here, I think I'll put in some images there. Hers with the Z7 are phenomenal, and let's face it, with the X100F being a mirrorless, non-interchangeable lens camera, at a 35 millimeter focal length, there's only so much that you're going to do with it. When the birds were flying overhead, I think there were some turkey vultures. She was nailing it with the Z7 and the 200 to 500, and well, I looked up at them, but I didn't even bother pointing the camera up there. So it's the S100F certainly isn't going to be all cameras to all people. It's very focused, but what I found, and it has been a pleasant surprise, is that's really helped. Like on Saturday when I was in the moment and the camera was not even really a consideration, and then I'd look over and Leigh was in the menus, and I was like, well, I'm just taking pictures, and obviously she was learning a new camera and a new system, so that's not a knock on her or anything like that. Let's see some notes here. Oh, one thing I want to do, I don't know if Leigh's going to do it as well, maybe we'll do it together, is a technical walkthrough of the X100F. I don't know if we'll do it like, here's a walkthrough of this menu and that menu in the body, or maybe if you're wanting to achieve this kind of results, go set these options. And then maybe another video where if you want to achieve this kind of results, set another option. Another thing that I was doing while out there was I was taking the same picture with many or all of the different film simulation modes as well. To me, that's one of the most exciting features about the camera. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can shoot in RAW and then have the film simulation as a setting, much like you can with white balance and other picture controls. You can do that with the film simulation, so you're not stuck with whatever film simulation you chose. You can change that afterwards with their clever RAW processing. We'll make a video on that, how even when you're using the computer, it's the camera doing the RAW processing, which I think is fairly unique to Fuji, and frankly, it's kind of fun. The thing about that is I find myself shooting JPEG with it and setting those film simulations and saying, well, just like the film days, you get what you get, and you could make some changes later on, but you don't necessarily have that raw image to make as dramatic changes. And to me, that's just another part of being in the moment as well, is not thinking ahead to how I'm going to process an image, because I'm effectively already processing it as I'm capturing it. Okay, now, sorry, back to the notes page here. One thing about the Z7 is, some of you may know, we did have a Sony in a few years ago. I think it was the first Alpha 7, and a lot has changed since then. So one good project for the site, and Leigh mentioned this in her evolution/revolution video, is getting a little more exposure to Sony. Now, there's a couple different ways that could work. We might be able to get some loaners like we are with Leica, fingers crossed on that. There's a couple different avenues that we might be able to pursue there. I think it would be a win-win to bring exposure to Sony. And I think for both Leigh and I, it would be a good way to benchmark what's out there. We haven't had the latest Alpha 7 or the Alpha 9 in our hands. So the Z7 seems really good in a lot of different categories. As I see Leigh working with it, and I've got a little bit of time with it. It seems really good, but we'll be able to communicate that in even a more educated fashion if we've got a Sony in the other hand and saying, well, here's where the Sony's stronger, or here's where Nikon's done something a little bit different. Frankly, for all I know right now, they could be carbon copies of one another. The Sony's more mature, so maybe it's got some better things. I can go read about that all day, but it's a whole different game to get it in our hands and be able to say, hey, listen, Nikon's the same or better here, but Sony's got the edge over here. And I expect it's going to be things like autofocus, the overall quality of the image. But we'll see. Hopefully we'll get to see really soon on that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and then I mentioned the parallel with Leica. That was a real upside surprise. It was Leica reaching out and saying, hey, would you like to try out some of our cameras? And the beautiful thing is about so many vendors now, and the vendors that we choose to work with that kind of arrangement, is they don't go there with any prompting as what to say. They get it when it comes to, let me just get the device in your hands and you do what you want. And when I say that, I don't even mean having to commit to a review video. I don't mean anything more than they know if you like it, it's going to start showing up in videos. Now, the way Leigh works, and I appreciate this, is full up review. I think that's great. I think that SL review was extremely well put together. I actually didn't have much hand in that one, not even behind the scenes. That was her off with the camera, making the content. I was working on other things, so I thought that was pretty cool. And every vendor we've worked with for years, whether it was a sponsored thing or just a loaner, they have been hands off as to what to do. I don't even remember what it was like 7 or 8 years ago when we were working with those first few vendors. I don't remember if it was the same or not, but one thing I've noticed in particular recently is they're more concerned about just the logistics. The communication is, hey, where do I send it? How long do you need it for? Not what are you going to say? And I think that's so cool. And I haven't seen any exceptions to that in recent times. So that's just been a real delight. Maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but that's been an upside surprise for me, because my big concern always, even with this good track record, is the vendors going to try to craft the narrative. And that's not what you do with a YouTuber. It's their voice, not the manufacturer's voice. And if they didn't like that, we'd ship it back and say, sorry, we don't work that way. We do things a little bit different. And I'm sure they would understand at that point. We might not end up doing anything, but I'm sure they would understand at that point. And short show today. Just one more thing that I want to talk about. Again, quick look at the notes here. One thing that I've got to do, I'll embrace your feedback. I know this is a short one today. I expect a Thursday show that's going to go 30 to 60 minutes talking about the issues of the day. And this is more for me than for you, but I want to talk this out, is one thing I've seen lately, especially with this mirrorless barrage, is there's enough news where the person talking, who's in the position that I'm in right now, doesn't need to try to be the news. Being on YouTube, it's a lot about views. That can generate good advertising income to keep the channel going. It leads to communication between ourselves and vendors and things like that. So I totally understand why some YouTubers like to bring a lot of attention to themselves when it comes to talking what's out there. But there's so much out there. There's so much innovation, whether we like some of the innovations or not. There's so much going on. One thing I want to make sure of is that I don't fall into the trap, and I'm seeing some others out there. I've been on YouTube for a long time behind the scenes. I see people trying to kind of cross over and become their own news story. And if you're guessing I'm kind of neutral to against that, you're probably right. There's enough going on where I don't need to do that. So what I want to be able to bring you for 30 to 60 minutes on a Thursday from a membership show is a candid discussion of what's out there. I'll give you my opinions, but I won't tell you how to think. And I think some people are losing sight of that or enjoying not looking at it that way. And I'm not trying to be them. That's fine. I'm not trying to replace anybody else that's out there. But I agree. I believe in good content, good discussion of what's going on, trying to figure out what's motivating the different vendors, and talking about what you can do with the gear as well, which I think is another thing that gets lost. Is there's a lot of people actually, I'm going to point the finger at myself right now, there's a lot of people doing what I'm doing right now, which is talking in a room instead of what Leigh's been doing more and more of, which is talking out in the world with the equipment. I don't see too many people, other people doing that, unless it's a real special event where Leigh is sort of evolving to do that, just about every time, which I think is pretty cool. I'm going to have to evolve because here I am in front of a couple computers. There's actually 2 computers over here, a Mac and a Microsoft Surface. So here I am with a couple cameras and a phone around and just immersing myself in the gear. But you know what? It's raining out there, but I'm still going to try to get out there today, at least for a couple pictures. And then what I also see myself doing, and I think we talked about this on a video that went up on Tuesday this week, is Leigh's getting a lot out of being the artist, and she truly is the artist behind the channel. And rather than pull away from that, where she's still getting other more technical or newsworthy videos up day to day, I can practice a little bit with you guys and then take shorter videos public just to keep you all up to date with what's going out on the industry and give you our opinions and perspectives, but again, not tell you how to think at the same time, just let you know what's out there. I don't think a lot of people spend as much time out researching as many of you because we got things like jobs and families and things like that. So, and that can be a challenge for us even too sometimes. So just want to give it to you all straight from a membership perspective. Sorry, I'm repeating myself here, but then also bring shorter shows to the mainstream as well while Leigh's off creating for those adventure videos and the extended reviews like actually by this time has come up for the Mavic 2 Pro this week. Not just a review, but then another 45 to 60 minutes on top of the review of what it's like to use that Mavic 2 Pro every day. Every minute she's spending doing that, doing these longer form videos, she's not doing the day-to-day updates, and I'm taking on some of that so the channel can be more of a one-stop shop. You get your artistic fix, which I love, and that's the primary, but then you get your day-to-day understanding of what's going out there in the industry as well, and new techniques, new ways to use your camera, gear that we love, and things like that. So I'm going to wrap it here. I'm losing my steam, and I don't want to go on and on. So I'm still practicing here and getting going. But thanks for tuning in today. Thank you for bearing with me in my earliest of days doing this. Your feedback is more than welcome in the comments. I'm still feeling my way through this, and a lot of you watch maybe more videos than I do, and you know what works and what doesn't work. So I'll take it. Even if it's painful, I'll take the feedback. So, okay, everybody, thanks a lot. And I'll talk to you all again next week, and I might be popping up in some more public videos as well. Thanks. Bye-bye.